Finally, I think. So, what would you recommend people do? I mean, is there anything that can be done for regular people with like 2 GPUs, 4 GPUs, or
For like safety.
is it for safety?
There's so much that can be done. At least my hunch here is that this in itself is a very new science in terms of like there are lots of unexplored low-hanging fruits, or like low-hanging fruits is a load-bearing word, but there are a lot of unexplored avenues that might not be in the best interest of model researchers, etc., to explore right now because it's like not in the best path right now. But so much of like there's so many things that you can do. Either figuring out like if you can figure out scenarios where the model fails, for example, you don't need that much more compute to figure out or to come up with contrived scenarios where the model can fail.
But if I can push back, like, I mean, in the sense that, like how you mentioned it, like, let's say somebody who has a MacBook and, he's got like 32 GB of RAM, etc. He'll be able to load some model, and he may see some behavior which is odd, etc. But that might just be due to the small size of the model, and you scale that to 70 billion, suddenly it starts working.
It's possible.
So I'm not too sure how much like
Right. But I mean, to be fair, like this is how science generally happens, in the sense that you come up with a novel idea, you come up with an actual breakthrough that like you come up with a way of thinking that's actually new. You put it out in the world. You say that, hey, I tried on this. I don't have the resources to go try it on like a frontier class model. I don't have access to billions of dollars, etc. You put it out in the wild. It catches steam because the idea is good. And then someone picks it up and tries it on a larger model who has more resources. And that's how essentially. So the best you can actually do is like there's still like so much. Like there's still a paucity of new ideas that can be brought out in the world that anyone with a 32 GB drive shouldn't get discouraged and be like, oh, like there should be like, hey, actually I can actually novelly contribute to new ideas in the field. There's so many low-hanging new ideas. Like compared to let's say physics, which has been like I don't want to say there are no new ideas, but like it's harder to get breakthroughs in physics.
Honestly, I was actually thinking about the same thing, which is like I feel like at least when I look at safety research or even capability research, capabilities maybe, I don't know, but when I look at safety research, I just feel like it is equivalent to like you need to have the large hadron collider to kind of you need that infra to kind of do experiments on that scale. You do like
I think I've seen both sides of it. I see your point. I think there are certain things you can't do with unless you have like tons of GPUs at your disposal, etc. But there are lots of
even the base model, etc. I don't know.
Yeah, but there are lots of behaviors that like there's lots of new things that you can just pick up despite having like just by being like super low on resources, right? Like just having like this thing. There's enough work done right now where you can actually pick up a laptop, just like put your mind to it and figure out things that have not been thought before in terms of safety, in terms of designing protocols, etc. that I've not done. In fact, I've actually gone like, I can explain this to you, but like I went and asked around like people who are like, a lot of safety is not bottlenecked by compute right now. A lot of safety research is just bottlenecked by people who can like contribute to this large mesh of ideas that can happen. So I'm sure there's some aspects of it that are bottlenecked, but a large aspect of it is not bottlenecked.
Again, to push back on that, I feel like at least, when you listen to people leaving major labs, major, at least OpenAI exits are very public there. They do cite a model, compute allocation as being like a major. Obviously, values is obviously one thing that they do describe.
But to be fair, like these people essentially are at the frontier of these labs, and when they talk about safety versus when independent research talk about like slightly different things. When they talk about safety, they essentially want the model's outputs to be safe, and they have like a much higher duty of care towards GPT 5.5 not giving out advice or like essentially being safe, etc. And them wanting to do safety research would essentially or trying to do any kind of like interpretability research on that side of a model versus like independent alignment researcher still has like a large area of research that Ilya Skiver might not even look into or might care about that or it's like too small for him to care about, but like still will contribute or push the science or frontier forward in its own way. So I think like different problem spaces that they're trying to different, like there's also different load bearing on them, right? The duty of care on like an independent alignment researchers versus someone as the safety team of OpenAI are very, very different expectations from what you expect out of them. And both are important, to be fair.